I guess we might as well get started. It looks like it's 8:30 and we're on, I guess. First item, like push the cell phone over here so they can record us. Okay. Roll call, Rhonda, please.
Okay, Mr. Hall,
Here.
Mr. Bakley, Mr. Dixon,
Here.
Mr. Artizone,
Here.
Mr. Carter,
Here.
Mr. Holsinger,
Here.
Mr. Postles,
Here.
Mr. Sheilo, Ms. Smith. We have a quorum.
We have a form. Thank you. I guess we didn't wait long enough. First order of business is the approval of the minutes for the September 28th meeting.
They're tabled. They're not ready.
They're not ready? Okay,
ready.
table this because they're not ready. Okay. Moving right ahead, I guess we'll open up with public comments. Is there anything from the team? Okay, what do we got?
Regis Mail from Palmer, Watchdog, and from citizens of Gates.
Okay, again, I'm going to tell you, you're at the wrong place.
We're here, today on your agenda is approval for the development of the school farm. Holdingsburg, if history is any teacher, they'll follow whatever you guys recommend. So if we disagree, this is the forum that we must go to, because when we go to Hollingsburg, they're going to say the professionals have said that this is the go, and that's what we're going to follow, and that'll be the end of it. So this is a public forum where we need to address this so that doesn't happen. If you say, well, Hollingsburg's wrong for doing that, I would tend to agree, but that's the reality of what's going on. I don't know of any other way to get the information across than to come to you guys first.
Okay, well, if you have material, but I can't have a half-hour discussion like we had the last time. I can't just do that.
Well,
I've got other business I have to attend. We have other things we have to do.
the first page there tells any public official who's looking at rezoning should ask the following questions. I have some that are underlined. The first says, is the proposed ordinance consistent with the municipality comprehensive plan? And if you turn to the second page, you'll see that we have the proposed new comprehensive plan for Hollidaysburg, and it says, you see where it's highlighted, maintain the current traditional neighborhood development zoning for Stoll Farm. And it gives reasons for it. I'll have to say that the citizens of Gaysburg have spent a lot of time rallying to meetings to try to get this through, and it has passed so far. It is on the draft for the new comprehensive plan. The old comprehensive plan's in 1980, so we can't even look at it. Okay? And the Stoll Farm then was a farm. All right? So just on that, zoning should not be changed. Okay? It says, will rezoning and subsequent development of the rezoned property create objectionable traffic, environmental conditions, and will those conditions be remedied through land development and plan approval process? The answer is yes, the big problem, and no, the developer has no plans has stated in public that he has no plans to remediate the problem that he will create. He has no intentions of doing that. Okay. The biggest problem is flooding. You can see picture after picture after picture. This is where they want to put cottages for the elderly. Okay, this doesn't happen every day, that's for sure, but it's a severe problem. The only way they're going to be able to build there and ensure the cottages are not to be inundated, some of these pictures are right where they're going to put the cottages, is to build a dike around their development. That dike will then push all that extraneous water down on the current citizens of Gaisport. Unfair. And you can say, well, then the citizens can sue. That doesn't happen. They've been told that 1,000 times. They've been up in Blair Township trying to get this stuff straightened out. It doesn't happen. Okay? They're relying on public officials to help them. Okay? They fought and fought and fought. They have a proposed stormwater detention facility in the middle of the school farm. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We don't know. We don't know if we're going to get funding or not. The borough manager has said that if they don't get the grant money, they're not going to. They don't have any help to build it. So it may happen and may not. Okay. So just the water from rain flooding, but that's just part of the problem. And I expanded on that last month, how bad it gets. But they want to put in 60 units. That's 60 EDUs added to the sewer system. The sewer system on Bedford Street is already surcharging. That means that these people are getting shit water in their basements. Okay, that they have to shovel out after. Not a very pleasant thing. And now to that same sewer line, you're going to add another 60 units. Not to be done. We suggested at a previous meeting that they put in a new sewer line the whole way to the interceptor. The developer said no way he was going to do that. Even if he does, okay, it will connect at the same place that the Bedford Street sewer hooks onto the interceptor, and the interceptor surcharges. That means that it backs up. Well, if if the new sewer and the old sewer hooked up at the same place and it surcharges, it means that these 60 units will most likely back up onto the Bedford Street sewer. More shit water in the basement. Public officials have told residents, well, it's only just a little more shit water than you're having now. I think that's unacceptable. Okay? That is probably the biggest problem and one that's not going to be resolved. The only way it's going to be resolved is if when the interceptor is no longer surcharging. Not going to happen. Okay, it's going to take hundreds of millions of dollars to replace aging sewer lines, both public and private, in order to prevent that surcharging from happening. Okay? That may happen in the future. The sewer authority is working on that. There's no doubt about it. But to think that it's going to happen in any reasonable amount of time, it's not. I'll hurry up here. And the last one says, how will the rezoning and subsequent development of the property affect the municipality's tax revenue? There's no question that if it was developed as a traditional neighborhood development, more tax money would come in than if you're going to have 60 retired people on the same lot. Doesn't make any sense, okay? So there's three reasons why it shouldn't be changed. Okay? See if I miss anything here. There were many talented people who worked on the plan for developing Holiday Spring. Many years ago, I agree, and it came up with traditional neighborhood development was the best for this. This was not something that someone decided in 5 minutes. This is something that was thoroughly studied and came up with this would be best. The reason it's best is because it requires the developer to put in all new infrastructure, very well calculated infrastructure in order to put in that large of a development. Okay? And putting in the new infrastructure is what would assure the citizens of Gaysport that it would minimize any effects on them. What this developer wants to do is go in and develop one corner of it, okay? Spend the least amount of money for infrastructure, spend his money for what's on top that's pretty, so he can sell, or he can rent the properties there. And that's fine, but he should be putting in new infrastructure. He'll develop one section, and then move another section, and another one, and not put in the infrastructure that would be required for the whole thing. That's why traditional neighborhood development is the safeguard for these people in Gaysport, so that the developer is forced to do it right, rather than cut corners. And you can say whatever you want about, well, this will not affect the people in Gaysport as far as flooding because now we have new stormwater regulations. But they've been told this for 30 years and it hasn't happened. It has continually got worse every time something's developed, and developers have every excuse and give them assurances, but unless you're going to assure them that if there's worse flooding, you're going to buy their houses at what they have invested in it, they ain't going to believe you. I won't hold you up anymore. I'm sorry if I'm taking up your valuable time, but this is extremely important to that community. I thank you.
All right. Again, the only thing I would reiterate on this whole situation, first, we're advisory. What we say, Hollidaysburg Borough will do what it desires to do. But at the same time, our charter and charge is to find is the development and in the plan what they're going to do consistent with the county's comprehensive plan and what they plan for development. It is the responsibility of the municipality, but it's Hollidaysburg Borough at this point, to determine whether it meets their goals and their requirements as far as sewer placement, what they need to do, and what they're requiring the developer to do. So I'm not sure that, okay, I can sympathize with your problem, but I'm not sure that we're the right forum for it. I think the right forum is, unfortunately, is Hollidaysburg Borough Council, and that failing, then the court system, and that's where you're at. I don't see much in the way of that we can offer any relief except to say in a letter that we question whether the sewer systems are adequate or some of those things are adequate and need to be addressed. But that's about as far as we can go. At least that's the way I see it anyway. Are there any other public comments at this point?
Yes, Mr. Hall.
Yes.
I'm Daniel Stantz. I'm attorney for BC Holdings 2020, the owner of the property that's being discussed here. And I just wanted to address a couple issues that were brought up, but Mr. Hall's already mentioned this, is the County Planning Commission is advisory. Ultimately, the borough is going to decide whether this change is in the best interest of the borough for zoning purposes. I would note that all of the issues raised by Mr. Nail, none of them are zoning issues. They're all land development issues, and that's not what is before the board today. But even to look at those particular issues, he mentioned traffic. What it currently is traditional neighborhood development, which is a mix of business and residential. That's a higher density use than what it will be used for as R2. So there actually will be less traffic as opposed to if it was developed for what its current zoning classification is. As far as stormwater controls, anybody who develops that property is going to be responsible for dealing with any stormwater impact that's caused. So that's an issue that the borough will also deal with. There's actually a net benefit here because less of the property will be developed than what it can currently be developed for, which would exacerbate any problems down there. But again, those are all land development issues. Those are not zoning issues. And the fact is the TND zones existed for a long time. It's never been developed because it simply really isn't feasible to do it in that way. And so the owner is requesting that it be rezoned into a use that makes more sense for the surrounding area when you take into account what is around it, which is pretty much residential properties, single-family homes. And so this is going to be much more consistent with the neighborhood than what TND actually would be. And as far as any infrastructure, any developer who does anything on that property is going to be required by the borough to address the infrastructure as far as water, sewer, and all of those things. That's just part of the normal land development planning that will go on if a project is actually constructed there. So we're just simply asking for the county to consider whether this is consistent with its comprehensive plan, which Mr. Hall stated is the purpose for the county to review this. Thank you.
Anybody else? If there are no further public comments, I guess, Bruce, it's your turn to kick it.
It is, and just briefly, last meeting I had mentioned about the Crow's Nest broadband project, which we had provided them an extension. Did receive a status report earlier this week. The project is roughly 90% done. Again, the projection is that there will be 1,675 households or businesses either who will receive, essentially be able to get service or will be able to get improved service. So that's where that stands. And just two quick highway issues for this, particularly the southern part of the county. Mr. Holsinger would probably be familiar with this as anybody here other than Mrs. Smith, and that would be in the Freedom and Greenfield area. The county has been using we were fortunate enough to get into PennDOT's roadmap program, and so we've been improving Bedford Street, which is the old Route 220 that kind of goes from Lamersville to Sproul. And there are a ton of bridges that are really box culverts along there, and so we've been doing them a number at a time as we have money. So we have 3 of them that are going to be finished actually and dedicated on Monday. But the big piece there is Bridge 70. If you've been in Claysburg and what it would, I guess, be traditionally the downtown, it's the bridge that kind of leads in where Cleven Stores was and going up to the high school. That bridge, which was a major project, should be completed by the end of November and open. So bit by bit, that was an area that was ignored for many, many years by the county. It's a county-owned road, and the previous Board of Commissioners set about to do something on that through using the PennDOT roadmap project, and then with the help now of some ARPA funds. By the time this is all done, thanks to a large extent to Senator Ward, who has just really helped us on grant funding, we'll be able to get that completed and better service. So that's a big deal for the county. And mostly a big deal for the people who are in Greenfield and Freedom Township who've suffered from that neglect for so many years.
Okay. Any other comments? That's it?
That's it.
Wow. Okay. Moving right ahead, I guess this is now becomes the Mackenzie show. And I guess first order of business is I guess we have congratulations are in order. Is that right? Since you got a little bit of a promotion?
She's going to be regional planner as of
Regional
November
planner
1st.
as of November 1st.
Okay. So number 5 on your agenda is for an addition to the Cypress building at Penn State Altoona. This is a 2,100 square foot addition to the mechanical engineering building, and this is for new research workshops. Also proposed in this plan would be new sidewalks, new landscaping, and stormwater management improvements. Existing parking at the site consists of about 50 paved vehicle parking spaces, and no additional parking is proposed in the expansion. No changes to the site's overall access is proposed in the plan. However, 5 new building entry points will be added, along with replacement concrete steps at the front of the building. Sidewalks are proposed along the perimeter of the expanded building here, and those are outlined in yellow, as well as this side of the parking lot. Currently, no walkway exists here. However, this is an existing biking trail. The plan proposes to remove an unused walkway here and then replace a walkway that connects to the existing one here to tie into this bike trail. Landscaping plans included various trees and shrubs throughout the site, which should make for an attractive site, as well as provide a sufficient headlight buffer. Environmentally, our review of natural features did reveal the presence of the 100 and 500-year floodplain on portions of the site. And while the building addition itself is outside of the areas that are delineated as floodplain, which would be right over here, it appears that some of the sidewalk connections being replaced in that area would be in the floodplain. The post-construction stormwater management plans included with the proposal did not show any net change in runoff at the site. However, we did recommend that the developer consult with the city to ensure that all facilities would still be designed to meet local stormwater requirements. The proposal also includes converting additional landscaping and converting, as I said, this paved area here into grass lawn, which should help mitigate potential increase in stormwater runoff as a result.
Okay, are there any questions or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff actions and recommendations for item 5 of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carried. Moving ahead.
Okay, number 6 on your agenda is for the Refresh Med Spa. This is along Pleasant Valley Boulevard in the city of Altoona. For reference, Weiss Supermarket that we approved the gas station for a few, I think, either the last meeting or the meeting before, is right across the street here. And this is 608 to 616 Pleasant Valley Boulevard. And this is for the construction of a 2,400 square foot, 1.5-story medical spa facility on a merged 0.287 acre parcel. Additional site improvements also include paved parking and access drives, as well as new sidewalks here along Pleasant Valley Boulevard, landscaping and stormwater management facilities.
So this is, okay, this removes part of the parking lot from Weiss. Is that the one?
No, this is the Wise across the street here. This is
Okay,
the parcel that it's
This is
proposed
something
on.
different, okay.
So
yeah,
this is
okay.
the Altoona Asthma,
Dr. Verma's
believe-
place.
Okay.
and this
all
is
right,
just
all right.
an office building here.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's okay. Sorry. Proposed parking at the site consists of 17 paved parking spaces, including one ADA accessible parking space, as well as a rack for bicycle parking, which will meet Altoona's parking requirements for developments of this size and type. Access to the proposed site is through a 24-foot wide bi-directional access drive off of Pleasant Valley Boulevard. The construction of a new medical facility does have the potential to attract additional peak hour vehicle trips to the site. However, we did not anticipate that any increase in vehicle trips would be sufficient enough to warrant a transportation impact study. Sidewalks are proposed, as I said, here along Pleasant Valley Boulevard. I did not highlight them, but they are also proposed here along Caroline Avenue, as well as along the entrance of the proposed facility. Which should help improve the overall pedestrian safety and promote connectivity at the site, considering there are no connecting sidewalks currently. I do think it is a good place to start in that area. Landscaping plans included various trees and shrubs, including street trees here along Pleasant Valley Boulevard, as well as Caroline Avenue. Landscaped buffers are also included along Caroline Avenue and the adjacent lot here that would connect to the Altoona Asthma Center. And no environmental concerns for the site. It's located within the Little Juniata River watershed. The proposal does include 2 landscaped rain gardens at the rear of the building, which would help mitigate the increase in stormwater runoff as a result of the development. Any questions?
What's that dark bold line there?
So this blue line here I put so that you wouldn't think that there was a throughway here to Caroline Avenue. This is a proposed, what do they call it, retaining wall.
Okay, so there's only one entrance.
No, it's just, yep, one way in.
Is there a reason why they didn't want to exit onto the other Second Street?
Zoning in the city doesn't allow.
It's a zoning issue.
Yeah. Commercial cannot access a residential road.
Okay. If there are no further questions, do I have a motion to approve the staff actions for item 6 of the agenda?
Moved. Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Moving on.
Number 7 on your agenda is for Blair Senior Services Facility. This is their transportation facility on Loop Road in Hollidaysburg. And this is for the construction of a, this is for the construction of a roughly 6,300 square foot vehicle maintenance facility located here, as well as a 2,500 square foot salt storage building for Blair County use. Additionally, improvements to the paved access drive that exists here are proposed, as well as heavy-duty concrete or paved access aprons for both sites. And stormwater management improvements are also proposed. Access to the site will continue to be through the improved full movement asphalt driveway off of Loop Road and paved approach aprons at both proposed facilities, which should help with heavy truck and vehicle circulation at the site. No landscaping plans were included with this proposal. However, the proposal did include the addition, or I should say the continuation of an existing chain link fence to continue around the perimeter, the rear perimeter of the building there. Environmentally, our review of natural features of the location revealed that the entire site is in the presence of the 100-year floodplain. Generally, we recommend against the development, against any kind of development within the floodplain. And while both the existing and proposed developments encroach into the floodplain, the developer specifies that the finished floor elevation of the proposed structure will be above regulatory flood elevation. We did recommend the developer consult with Hollidaysburg Borough and DEP to ensure that all facilities are designed in accordance with the local stormwater management ordinance. The site is located within the Beaver Dam branch. The proposal includes improvements to the existing stormwater management facilities at the site, which would be through underground infiltration basins, which would be through underground infiltration and detention basins.
You know, it would seem to me you don't want salt storage in the floodplain unless you're going to have it above the elevations.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Doesn't make sense. It makes a little bit of sense, but you want to have you don't want to leach any more salt into the water than you have to. Okay. Is there any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I want to entertain a motion to approve the staff actions for item 7 of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Okay, number 8 on your agenda is for Bickles Surplus 2. This is their warehouse in Antis Township on Old 6th Avenue Road. And this is for the construction of an 11,800 square foot storage warehouse with truck access at the existing Bickles Surplus site. Additional improvements would also include the installation of a heavy-duty concrete trucking pad as well as stormwater management. Access to the proposed site will continue to be through a paved 28-foot wide bi-directional access drive shared with the surplus store parking lot. Trucks appear to be able to access the loading dock here through the existing parking lot by backing onto the concrete pad. This here, again, is a retaining wall that is separating the concrete loading dock with the asphalt area here. No new parking is proposed with the expansion. However, the developer specifies that the existing parking lot for Bickles Surplus would be sufficient for the needs of the business. No landscaping plans were provided with the proposal. However, the plans did suggest the removal of this existing baseball diamond that is here. I am not sure. It's the property is owned by Bickle. I'm not sure if that baseball diamond is in use for like local purposes or anything like that, but this would remove the baseball diamond in favor of the construction of the warehouse. Environmentally, the only features at this location that were a concern were the steep slopes on the site. However, based on the aerial imagery and the existing topography, the development here would not need to be graded. This is the existing steep sloped area, so developing here is a relatively flat surface. The site is located within the Little Juniata watershed. In order to help mitigate any negative impacts on the watershed, the proposal does include the addition of underground infiltration basins to help offset any potential runoff as a result of the development. And this that exists right here is just a 10, so it's not, they're not removing any existing buildings to build the new warehouse.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Yeah. Any questions, concerns? I would think it would be advisable, at least in the letter, to flag the status of that baseball field, just to see what it is, ask a question of who's using it, and what use it is, or if there are any chances to replace it or do whatever, you know, or to remove it.
You will note, most women would agree that single white men do need improvement.
Yeah. Didn't look at that one. I think that's stormwater management actually. So.
Yes, that is stormwater.
Yes, I know.
That was a bad joke, Dave. We'll pass on that one. If there are no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion to approve the staff actions and recommendations with the addition on the baseball question. At this point, do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Moving right ahead.
Number 9 on your agenda is for the proposed Greystone office facility in Antis Township. This is located at 1917 East Pleasant Valley Boulevard. It is the former site of the Corner Table Restaurant, but currently it is the office building for PATH. And this is for the construction of a 3,400 square foot addition to the existing office building for the purpose of creating an office space for Jeff Long Construction. The final building footprint will be 6,594 square feet, and additional improvements to the site would include paved parking and stormwater management facilities. Access to the proposed site would continue to be through the 2 existing 24-foot wide bi-directional access drives that open onto the paved parking area, which should provide ample vehicle maneuverability and circulation at the site. 18 paved parking spaces are proposed at this site, including 2 ADA accessible spaces, which does not meet the township's required 29 spaces for developments of this size and type. However, the developer specifies that the proposed parking should be sufficient for the nature of the development, given that both offices are low occupancy. The developer also states that future parking could be installed at the rear of the building if necessary. That would be here. The developer said that the existing path facility, they did like a parking observation that they usually only have 4 to 5 cars in the parking lot, and he specified for the office, Jeff Long offices, it would be about the same, so 18 would be sufficient for their proposed use. Again, however, for future use, they did propose that this could be developed for additional parking. Sidewalks included in this plan are solely proposed along the front of the office building here. Generally, we do recommend the inclusion of sidewalks along a major corridor like Pleasant Valley Boulevard, even in the absence of existing sidewalk connections in the surrounding area, and especially given the proximity to local residential neighborhoods and amenities. This is maybe less than a block from Martin's and a large residential neighborhood, as I said. No landscaping plans had been provided. The developer should ensure that any landscaping included at the site is designed in accordance with Antis Township's design regulations. And environmentally, the review of natural features for this location revealed the presence of prime agricultural soils throughout the site. However, it appears that the site has already been developed for commercial purpose, so no farmland would be converted, and therefore we did not anticipate any significant environmental concerns with regard to the proposal. It is located within the Little Juniata River watershed. In order to help mitigate any negative impacts, the proposal does include the addition of an underground stone sump to help offset any potential runoff as a result of the development. Any questions?
Are there any questions or concerns? I think the addition of, I'm slowly coming over to Pat's viewpoint that, Baker's viewpoint that we need to put sidewalks in the plan, even if they are waived, just to something that in the future people need to consider, even if there is nothing around them, that it will promote maybe other developers later on to extend sidewalks. And I think that's the issue. Not so much that there's no sidewalks in the area, but in the future there should be. I think that's so. So if there are no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion to approve the actions. Item 9 of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
If there are no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Moving ahead, now we're down to the staff level reviews. These are the ones that end up not rising to the level of needing action or review by the board. These are ones that are addressed and sent to the board members by email for your review and concerns and questions. So if you have any questions or concerns about any of these issues, any of these projects or any of these things, now is the time to ask them. Okay. You can see most of them look like they're small subdivisions and land, or lot change lines, planning modules. If there are no questions on any of these issues, I will entertain a motion to approve the staff actions, reviews, and letters in item 10 of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Okay.
Okay, number 11 on your agenda is for the petition for Hollidaysburg Borough from BC Holdings 2020 LLC to rezone the property situated in Hollidaysburg Borough, known as the Stoll Farm property. The land is currently zoned as a traditional neighborhood development. The request is to rezone the property to general residential or R2. This is the existing zoning map for Hollidaysburg Borough as of June of 2019. I circled the neighborhood here. This is the Stoll Farm property zoned as a TND. You can see it is surrounded by an R2 district. This is the environmental map of the property. You can't really see the outline of the property very well, but I'm going to explain to you the existing environmental conditions show that there are prime agricultural soils on the site, as well as the 100-year floodplain that runs directly through the center of the site. Generally, according to our comprehensive plan, for existing farmland such as this, we would not recommend the conversion of existing farmland, especially given that the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, the floodway it looks like, runs directly through the property as well. I believe in our land use plan, the long-term land use for this property is recreational. So according to our comprehensive plan, generally we would not recommend, I mean, as it stands right now, the TND is a more restrictive zoning, like a more restrictive zone than an R2. So developing prime farmland, developing in a floodplain would require more strict restriction or more stringent restrictions anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure
Now-
how it's
We've heard what the Gaysport people have said, and we've heard what the zone, it appears to me, in looking at the current zoning, what you're telling me is,
Would you like me to go back to the
yes,
existing
because
zoning map?
it is zoned, it is zoned as, they say you develop as a traditional neighborhood. It appears though, when I look at the environmental map, that there's some serious environmental concerns in that area. And those need to be addressed. As far as, to me it does right now, it appears it's not consistent with what we would say for the comprehensive plan. How you remedy that so that the developer can do it is not what we can do. That's the borough and its engineers and their solicitor, whoever's involved. But as it's currently written, it doesn't appear that it's developable as residential. To me, anyway.
Right, so generally, if I were to receive, in its current state, if I were to receive a land development application such as what is being proposed, I would recommend against that kind of development in this area, given that it is existing farmland to be converted, given that it is in such a significant piece of the floodplain in such a flood-prone area that we are aware of. I would advise against development in that area generally without very stringent and very under the microscope environmental precautions being taken for development.
Okay.
So
I think this is an awful proposal. It's just terrible. Too many negatives, too many negatives.
It just seems like it's the wrong place.
Yeah, it's just too many negatives.
And when I see that prime farmland, the green, and then I see you're looking at the what you're telling me, the floodplain information. It just seems like it's a very difficult development.
so this area here, this is all the floodplain where NatureWorks Park was developed, which is all wetlands if you are familiar with the park. So this whole area here is all existing wetland, which would not be conducive for land development. So this existing as prime ag soil, existing as part of that floodplain, again, I'm not.
One of the questions I would ask, if I look at that map, what direction is the water flow? Is it
Up.
It's up towards the blue area?
Right.
Out of that parcel.
Yeah, that dark green is an overlay of the blue and that lighter green. That's why it comes up that weird color.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Right through the property.
Right.
Well, I think the question is, we're being asked, is it consistent with the county comprehensive plan?
It's not.
It is
No.
not, no.
And if it's not, it's not.
It's not. It just
We
doesn't-
can't recommend it. That's
Doesn't
the
recommend it.
question being asked. I mean, if this was to be developed, it would be the responsibility of the borough and the borough's engineer to enforce the land development
Right.
requirements for
Exactly.
utilities, stormwater, and that kind of stuff. We're not being asked that question.
No, we're
just
being
asking,
asked, is it consistent?
is
The
it
answer
consistent with our plan? And if it's not, it's not. We
It's
can't
not.
say that
It's
it
not.
is.
No
But
way.
if they figure out a way to go beyond that and develop it, and then it becomes the township, or the borough, I keep saying township, the borough and the borough's engineer's responsibility to enforce all the regulations,
Right,
whether
because-
it's a land development ordinance or a stormwater ordinance.
Because basically, one of the, you've seen this, is you're not permitted if you're a developer or a private homeowner to basically have water from your property flow onto your neighbors. That's a no-no for just a general principle. And so,
Not to mention the insurance.
so that's,
Mm-hmm.
so it appears to me that, what do you do about the zoning request? Because zoning request is just to rezone the property.
Well, so I had mentioned that
And
the
it appears to me that makes it, if rezoning zoning it makes it inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
Correct. That was my interpretation, considering the TND as it stands as a more restrictive zoning area. Rezoning it to be less restrictive would
Right.
be against our comprehensive plan.
Right, that's against us also.
Whoever recommended that zoning that currently exists is just wrong.
You know, I guess, okay, so basically, I guess the recommendation from the planning commission would be that the zoning request is ill-considered and not appropriate.
Yes, yes.
It's not
Okay?
consistent with.
Not consistent with the comprehensive plan.
That's the basic question.
Yeah, that's the way I would phrase it. It's inappropriate, inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. So, I mean, that does not preclude that somebody can't figure out a way to do that. But at the same time, it's not, if you're gonna impact all your downstream neighbors, then that involves some special considerations, which are not our responsibility, but they are the responsibility of the municipality. And if they refuse to do it, then the residents have no recourse except to go to court. So, I guess I'm looking for a motion. Do I have a motion for
So moved
to what? To
refuse it.
reject the zoning petition as inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, inappropriate.
Not consist, yeah, the three things that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Floodplain, the agriculture, and the fact that the zoning doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. So that's.
Please back up 2 slides, please.
Back up 2 slides. There.
Yes, there. Some of the issue in Gaysport is the flooding. I would suggest that maybe people who may be interested in this go to the borough. There are buyout and other type of programs available from the federal government to alleviate some of that. The buyouts would pay the value of the property as it would stand without the floodplain. There's also funding available to flood-proof properties and elevate properties. But the borough has to concur with some of that. But there may be some relief available in addition to other types of construction type activities with detention ponds and all. But I just want to put that out there. It's not related this directly, but while that map was up, I wanted to point that out.
Okay. All right, moving ahead. Going down to this thing, this staff, again, these are staff reviews that typically do not rise to the level of needing a presentation at a meeting. They are letters of support for applications, for grants, for permits, and so these are the ones that get sent to us by email. If anybody has any questions about any of these, now is the time to ask them. Okay. Nothing? If there are no questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the staff actions and recommendations and letters of item 12 of the agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
If there are no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Okay, moving ahead. It's now down to the Dave Show.
We got fancy.
Oh, wow, okay. Whoa.
Somebody playing text and make a table.
I didn't know you were that high tech.
I'm not complaining. So, October tends to be our professional development month. I just want to give a quick update on some of the things that specifically programs we had exposure to going to the conference. I categorize them in 3 different basic formats. The first is the IIJA, the new infrastructure bill that was passed last year. These are all projects, or not projects, but programs that are open or will be opening in the next few months to assist. These are the ones that are actually applicable to Blair County that would be available. The limited availability of the first one, it has to be within a couple miles of the interstate. But the other ones would be available should we be interested in doing some of these. A lot of them have a planning component. For instance, the Thriving Communities connects transportation with housing. How do we get people who may be housebound in some way, shape, or form to their basic needs, such as grocery shopping, such as maybe a doctor's office, things like that. And that may be through traditional means, it may be through a ride-share program, it may be getting creative with it. That's just one example. Smart grants, similar but a different way of approaching it is incorporating the newer smart technologies into the transportation system. We do have some of that around. You can go to a bus stop and dial in a number, it'll tell you the next bus is coming. This goes further than that. It more fully integrates. If you go to some larger cities, you can fully integrate your transportation system on your phone. So there's some of that is out there that's available. Other federal opportunities that are out there that we've been exposed to. BRIC is open at this point. BRIC is the hazard mitigation money. If we identify a program within the plan or a project within the plan, BRIC is the primary source to deal with those. So that is currently open. And then some of the energy ideas that are coming down, they are starting to filter money down. Department of Energy generally focuses on the ED or on the feds, and then they go down to the states and then stop. These new programs are coming down to a lower level, and we can access the Department of Energy directly.
Hey, just one interruption. On your chart, there is no, the connection is all vertical. There's no connection between any.
No, there's nothing horizontal.
The horizontal connections don't even, there's nothing that says
Yeah.
that any of those.
Yeah,
go
electric
across
vehicles have
horizontal.
nothing to do with bricks.
Right, nothing has to, so they're
Unless
just,
you want to throw one through a windshield.
yeah, so it's all vertical and not, and these are just different categories of projects that are available. Nothing, but nothing goes horizontally,
Right, that's vertical.
below vertical.
So we have some energy going on. The pro-housing program, again, trying to address the housing shortage. We feel it acutely here. We identified it in the comp plan back in 2018, 5 years ago already. But housing is a national issue in terms of most people, most areas are facing the same thing we are facing. We may feel it more acutely or in a slightly different way. But the pro-housing program is a funding source to help address those needs. That was actually announced at the state conference. The elements of that, there's some, as they say, the devil in the details. Some details have not been announced yet, but that looks like it may be promising. It tends to go through housing authorities, but there's also, again, a planning component and possibly some economic development and jobs-related things. That's why I said the devil's going to be in the details on that one. Then we have some water issues that are coming out, and then our choice neighborhoods. Again, it's related to the housing and transportation connection and how those come together. And we move down to community facilities. This is to improve publicly available facilities within the county, basically. That can be places to meet. That can be libraries, sometimes fire halls, rarely city halls and borough halls. But that's what that focuses on. You can argue some recreation facilities, but they don't go as far as parks and outdoor recreation with that one. And then the non-federal opportunities, some of these are just announced as foundational grants instead of coming through the feds or the state. The waterway access mini grant, PA water trail mini grants are actually foundation-based, as is the Chesapeake Gateway Grant Program. And all those focus on making our waterways accessible to the public. A lot of our waterways have private property on both sides, nothing wrong with that. But we look to where we have the opportunity to open up public access to our waterways, whether that be for boating, for fishing, or just for simply taking a chair down and enjoying watching the leaves float down the river this time of year, whatever it may be. But that's what those are for. Boating facility grant is through the state. And then the new one is the eco districts. This one looked fairly applicable to our area as well. It takes the old areas, the old industrial type areas, identifies some of the legacy issues that come off of them, as well as some of the legacy economy that comes off of them, and takes the energy in the economy and reinvests it in the old legacy industrial issues to convert them and turn them from looking backwards to looking forwards. So it takes existing momentum to spin something in society that we may have had trouble spinning around before. The example they use, there are 3 boroughs right across the Allegheny River from Pittsburgh. Each one did their own eco district, but then they combined, so now they're one big eco district, even though they're not even contiguous. But you think what Pittsburgh was, and what, especially when you got down along the river, they're taking some of their legacy issues. They still have the momentum from some of those, and they've identified some specific points within their areas, and they've taken that and they're starting to spin things around and looking forward. And eco can stand for ecology. It also can stand for economy. So that's why I think they stopped at eco instead of going much further than that. But like in the case of one of the boroughs is Sharpsburg, not East Sharpsburg. Don't confuse it. This is the borough of Sharpsburg. They're taking some of their brownfield areas, some of their older housing. They're taking some of their housing and rehabbing it, repurposing it. Not in terms of it's not housing anymore, but the type of housing and maybe going from rental to ownership, maybe going from a large, maybe multi-bedroom house, we're talking 5, 6, 7 bedrooms, and figuring out how to subdivide it within to make it maybe 2 apartments or maybe even condo it, things like that. They're taking things outside, crumbling sidewalks, I believe is one of them, turning it around and producing more accessible transportation options within the borough. And this is a very small borough. So that's one that is somewhat exciting. I took some pretty extensive notes, and I have a couple of contacts from that one to move on. There was a sub-element of that ties into energy that DEP is doing. There's an open window. If we miss the open window, and I believe it closes in February, we're out of it for 5 years. So we want to make sure we get on top of that, at least issue a letter of interest, which keeps our foot in the door should we want to move forward on that. Blueprint Communities is another one that's relatively new. Huntington County's used this successfully, particularly down, I believe it's in Mapleton Depot area. You go in, you identify some issues. It works on a small scale, so it's for smaller scale communities. But it identifies 2 or 3 strengths in that community, focuses resources into them, and helps the community build on those specific strengths. And then the PA Energy Resilience is something coming out to help us convert off of coal. And it's not necessarily to something, although everybody likes to lean on solar right now, but it's to convert us off the old fossil fuel elements. So those are some of the things that came out programmatically out of the conference. I don't know if either of the other 2 want to jump in with something they picked up. Sherry and Mackenzie both went as well. And then the other thing I usually go for is to pick up little tidbits on transportation and hazard mitigation. Those are our 2 biggies. I have a very large wealth of information on hazard mitigation in particular that we'll be working into the plan. And I'll just say more to come on that because I'm just going to work it into the plan and present it as we move forward. Otherwise, we might be here till 3, 4 o'clock. I can go on for quite a bit with hazard mitigation. But that's a nutshell on that. I don't know if either other 2 wanted to jump in with anything. They all went, so.
Good question.
Yeah.
Apparently there's opportunity here for the county planning commission. Are municipalities aware of opportunities here for them also?
That we need to get these out to them. And,
You're going to go.
yeah, I gotta get my head around I don't want to package it. This is my second attempt at packaging these.
No, okay.
I need to get them packaged in a better way so people understand what they're
Yeah,
reading.
apparently you put this together.
like I said, second rough attempt trying to get things in
Yeah,
some kind of
yeah.
order. And I did it by source this time. I did it by type last time, and I might just mix the two and do source by
Yeah, well,
type.
everyone, you have to determine whether your thing you want to do fits into that category.
Right. But these are some opportunities that are out there. Result of some networking. I skipped 2 sessions just to talk to a man from DEP on some of this stuff. He was
Do you have
pointing
any
back
that
to
you-
the fence.
Do you have any that you think are hot for the county?
We could use thriving communities, the reconnecting communities, probably a little bit of smart grants, maybe the raise. Coming down the other side, brick definitely, and some of the water stuff in the middle there, right smack in the middle, the drinking water and the small surface water groundwater storage. We do have some water issues. There is a dam decommissioning grant, I did not put that on here, that if we have an authority that might have a dam they no longer need, or one of these old wildcat water systems, we've got a number of them throughout the county, that they've been reconnected onto a public system. They don't need their little retaining area up there. There's a grant program out there now to decommission those types of dams. So that's out there. We can make use of that. I wouldn't mind making use of that rail crossing elimination program where we could. There's a related program that has to do with signals and safety at rail crossings. One always comes to my mind because I use it every day, and I've stood on the brakes at least twice coming down, even though I know it's there. You come out of Hollidaysburg going east on 22, you're not only curving horizontally, you're curving vertically down to that crossing into what used to be Millennial Rail. And there's no signal there. They have a flagger. And I've come almost literally this close to the man at one time because you just don't see it until you're there. Never mind the big locomotive moving over here. It's the man in the road that I'm more concerned of. Be nice to get some funding there and maybe put some signalization on that. And then coming down the other side, a number of our comprehensive plan projects could tie into just about every one of those, with the possible exception of the energy resilience. And even that we have mention of in the comp plan. So, and those are mini grants. So those are little projects that somebody has a 100 by 100 lot that happens to have a road on this side and a stream on that side. And maybe we buy it and put a picnic table and a little bit of a slope to get into the water. We're talking that scale. We're not talking, we're not going to redevelop Highland Park or anything with those. The ones I'm most excited about would be by the Rays, the Eco, and what was the other one? The Brick. I just wanted to give a quick update on that. That's basically all I had for right now.
Okay.
Okay. Item 14 is where the board members' questions, concerns, recommendations, ideas. You have something to say, now's the time to say it. Or if you have a pet peeve or anything else you want to talk about, or something we need to address, it's the time to say it. None? Nothing? Wow. Okay, if not, nothing on item 14, I'll move ahead. Walt, do you have any questions?
No, not today, we're good.
Whoa, we're moving
Come
right
right
along. Upcoming events, I guess the next the one that probably affects us, and I don't see it on there. Well, I do, I guess it's the very bottom one. We do not have a November meeting because it falls on Thanksgiving. Okay. And so we schedule, and same thing happens right around Christmas. So what happens is we combine the dinner meeting for November and December and have a social, the annual meeting and a social, and scheduled for the 14th of December at Fort Roberto. Out in the boonies again. Catered by?
We don't know yet.
We
We
don't know.
had been at White Oak Hall for a number of years. We switched off of that because of all the time. At the time, it was Cheryl putting into it, trying to find a caterer. So we switched over to the Educator Cafe in the Votech. They've had some staff turnover and weren't comfortable hosting us this year, so we went back to White Oak Hall.
All right, so it may be brown bag.
No, the caterers.
Mitch Frederick.
Who?
Mitch Frederick.
Mitch?
So, but other than
Frederick's
that,
Meat Market.
there's a list of meetings that we've got. Any other questions? Does anybody have any comments or
Thank
questions?
you.
If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Sir, okay, we're out of here. Thank you.
Uh,
Twice Corbin did, too.